Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of The Harvest Season. My name is Al.
I'm Kevin.
And we're here today to talk about College Core games. Woo!
Woo!
Kevin's not distracted by writing something in the show notes.
Yeah. Look. Okay. Did you see the foghorn leghorn trend on Twitter?
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh! I thought about doing it for this show, but I lost some of the energy for this weekend. But basically, people have just been putting foghorn leghorn into anime scenes, or just like images, and just a whole rant of him that he would say, and it's been hilarious. I love foghorn leghorn so much.
Okay.
Anyways, I was thought about introing like that, but I didn't. So you're welcome, people.
I think didn't is the best option there. Transcripts for this episode are available in the show notes and on the website, and hopefully they'll be quicker generating from now on because I have a new iPad which is much faster than my 6-year-old iPad. I think I ran a transcript that I did for last week that took like 2.5 hours to generate.
Yep.
And on the new iPad it took 20 minutes.
Wow. Okay, that's good.
That's what happens when you spend 6 years between iPads. Is you get an insane speed increase.
We have the technology.
So, this episode we are probably going to talk about Homestead Arcana. Depends on how much Kevin has played it. I have played it. I have opened the game and I have done stuff in it. I have a save file with a character.
Okay. All right.
And I have some opinions.
Good opening salvo.
So we're going to talk about that. Before that, we've got a bunch of news, including a couple of new games and lots of exciting news. Before all of that, and before what we've been up to, I want to respond to Johnny. So, was it 2 episodes ago? Johnny ranted about... Yeah, it was in the Rusty's retirement episode. Johnny ranted about Coral Island.
Of it. Okay.
He ranted about Coral Island. And he said that it's ridiculous that I'm suggesting that Coral Island is the standard for farming games. And what I would like to say is Johnny is right in everything that he says, except...
He's right, because wildflowers should be.
Except that's not what I said. I did not say that it's the standard for farming games. Or if I did, I didn't mean it. What I mean is that Coral Island, the farming part of Coral Island, should be the standard for farming games going forward. The features that it adds to the genre, that is how things should be. That is what I'm trying to say. He's absolutely right about everything else he says about Coral Island. It is definitely unfinished. I have complained about this before. I still think it is the best, if not the second best farming game, personally.
Well, hey, good news though. Being unfinished already is the standard for Ghost games.
Fair. And it is still to see whether 1.1 will finish Coral Island or not. We will see.
Okay.
The beta's coming out in a week, I think, but...
Wait, they're doing a beta for the 1.1?
They are, yeah.
Oh my good. Oh wow.
I refuse to play that though.
Evokes confidence, like saying we're beta. We're doing a beta post-launch.
And obviously nothing will ever live up to Stardew in its longevity, I don't think. So
Concerned Ape refuses it for anything else to do so.
Well, we're going to talk about that later. We've got news on
foreshadowing.
News on Stardew. Who'd have thought it? So that's why I wanted to point that out. I've talked to Johnny about this on Slack anyway, and he thinks that I believe he said what I said is fair now that he understands that it's about the farming aspect of things. But
we don't
I felt it was important to talk about it on the podcast. We want
reactionary content.
Because I don't think I've been on the podcast for like 4 episodes now, have I?
Hey.
More than that. Oh my word. The last episode I was on was over a month ago.
Oh.
Wild.
Wait, was it the one I was on? Were you both on last time?
It was.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a Cody show now.
Yeah, well,
Cody,
you know.
Cody was on the last 4 episodes.
Have you watched Smiling Friends?
No. Oh, wait, yes.
Oh, yes.
Wait, have I? No.
Have you? Oh, yeah. You should. I was
It's.
about
I
to make
think
a
it's on my
reference.
list to watch. I can't
Okay, well, you
remember.
should. I was just gonna say the fans have voted, just like Smormu. Um,
No, I've
but
not
all
seen
right.
it. That confirms
Oh,
it.
you should
I
watch
don't understand the reference, therefore no. Right, okay, cool. So, blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff to talk about. Kevin, what have you been up to?
Okay. So, um, non-video. It's been a chaotic week for me. All right. I caught up and finished X-Men '97. Hey, guess what? That game is good. You know what? We should talk about it sometime.
Imagine
Just
that.
the thought. um, X-Men '97, very
Foreshadowing.
good. That's all I'll say on that for now. I caught up on oh well yeah, Smiling Friends. It's very short, so probably since the last time I watched it, I binged that. Very very funny, very enjoyable. I suggest you go watch it out. It's Adult Swim, so they're like 10-minute episodes, so you can knock it out
Yeah, I
real quick.
haven't seen this one, but it is on my list to watch at some point.
All right, we'll go do it. It's season 2 is ongoing. They're releasing new episodes, and very excited for that. Like one should be this weekend, I think. I don't know. Outside of that, I've been doing a lot of my daily grinds because that's comfort gaming for me. Pokemon Unite. Fall Links came out and is funny and adorable and as great as I'd hope. Um, the
Does
game
he
in
split
general,
up and beat people up?
yes, he can. He has two. He has two. So every Pokemon basically has two like branches for their attacks that you can pick. Fall Links has either they all stick together and form a big shield, or they all separate and beat up people.
Nice.
And his
Excellent.
Unite, his ultimate move, the little guys just start spinning around him, just carouseling around him and beating up anyone it touches. It's great. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I
Love it.
love Falling. He's a fantastic little dude. Or dudes. Uh, let's see, Disney Speedstorm. Um, the Disney racing game, the Wreck-It Ralph season is ongoing. Um, and boy, they're just getting more money. They want money. Because they actually split the season into 2 parts. So you have to buy 2 passes if you want the premium characters or whatever. Part 1 was Vanellope. She was like the premium character, and I bought it because I like Vanellope. Part 2 was Sergeant Calhoun, that lady, um, the from the Heroes Duty game or whatever. I'm not buying because I don't care about her that much. But the racetrack from the game and Sugar Rush is there. It's very fun. I like Speedstorm, still a very fun game. Uh, let's see. Marvel Snap continues to be Marvel Snap. The, the game's really big. There's a lot of cards. I keep up with it. I think I don't know for better or for worse, but I still play it.
I think I've given
Uh,
up on it.
that's good for you. You know what?
It was
You're
a
smart,
period of
man.
time for me. I
Yep,
enjoyed it while it was a period of time, but I think
yep.
I'm done with it now.
That's fine. I salute you for that. So those are my daily stuff. Ori and the Blind Forest. I've gone through that. Are you familiar with that one now?
I'm familiar with it, but I've not played it.
Okay.
It's a
Well,
Metroidvania, right?
yep, it is.
Yeah.
Um, and
I think I heard you talk about it. I think I heard you talk about it
yeah,
on
yeah,
Rainbow Road Radio.
yeah. You can hear me talk about it there. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna repeat what I said there. It is a Metroidvania, but unlike say Metroid Dread or other Metroids, it's not so much combat focused. It's much more like platforming, obstacle focused, which I
Yeah.
think I might have a harder time with.
Oh,
Some of them
interesting.
can feel very challenging because you have to time your jumps, you have to extend jumps, turn in midair, you have to bounce off enemies or projectiles. Wild, wild nonsense that they come up with. The game is very pretty and enjoyable. I'm still going through it. There's that. Speaking of Rainbow Road Radio, the podcast I do with our mutual friend Alex, I think, like since the last time I've been on, I played through a lot of the classic Mario's. We've been doing springtime for Jumpman. That's what Alex calls it. The original Super Mario Bros. We did the Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3, and World is upcoming. So I've been going through that, getting my crash course in Mario history. Guess what? Mario platformers are good. Shocker, I
Yeah.
know. Lost
I
Levels
really
2. Yeah, go ahead.
no.
Oh, I was just gonna say Lost Levels is good, but it's also really hard and mean.
Yeah, I really liked Lost Levels.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I found 2 very funny because it's sure it's a Mario game, but it's not a Mario game.
That is
It's
correct.
it's like a Skinner on top of another game.
That is literally what it is. Yes, yes,
It-
you are
and
right. It
and
is.
it makes it so weird in so many ways, right? Because it's
Right?
like so different to the first one, but
Yeah,
also so different to everyone since. There's
absolutely.
so much stuff in this game that never happens again.
Yeah. And it's what's really weird is they some things did stick around. Maybe not like mechanics or whatever, but like turnips and shy guys and different things like the elements and creatures floating and all that stuff, right? Like they still kept some of that. So I guess they were happy with what came out, but it's wild. Like I can't think of another example where they reskinned a game and they kind of claimed ownership to that and it still stayed, but not really. Wild, wild
The funny
nonsense.
thing is as well, it's like it's a Skinner on top of a game, but it's the 5th best selling game on the NES ever. Like I don't think any other Skinner box game has ever done that. Like that's wild.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I didn't know that. That is wild. Holy moly.
Just so
Um
weird. It was critically well received for its design aspects and for differentiating the Super Mario series. That's because it wasn't a Mario game. It was a different game. I mean, I really like it. It's fun, but it's
maybe
really funny.
yeah, it is. Maybe other things should start doing that more. This is how we'll save the MCU. We're just gonna copy other movies, but put Spider-Man in it. Oh yeah. Um. Oh, that's great. Um.
Put Spider-Man in every film that he has referenced in the MCU.
Oh my gosh.
You know that old film's Alien?
Yeah.
That old film Star Wars?
Yeah.
And then just make it self-referential, so he has to refer to the fact that he's in this thing that is
He's
like a
been
film that
there. That's why he knows it.
of.
He's been there. Oh, okay.
Good fun.
So that's all the fun stuff. The unfun stuff. I got laid off this week.
Whoop
uh,
whoop.
oh, so I mean, you know,
Just before, remember, this is the family-friendly episode. No swearing.
I will. Yes, okay. I will. I will not. Um. But it came out of left field. It was, and I asked them because, of course, when you find out you're losing your job, you were like, "Is it anything I did?" And they're very adamant it was not. It was nothing personal about me or my performance or whatever. But they just had to cut some jobs, and mine happened to be on that list. Um, uh, there is we got a news story about layoffs too, right? So like I could talk about it then, but so here's the crazy thing. I was laid off last year as well. But that was a different scenario because that company was a small startup and basically it collapsed. It just failed. So the whole company died. We were all employees were laid off at the same time, right? So it was very sad because we all really liked that company. We liked each other, our coworkers and whatnot. And at least we were in it together, more or less, right? Like we all went out to lunch and just drank our the sadness away or whatever. Here, like this is a massive. So the company I work for directly is a large company that's like headquartered in Pittsburgh, different state from where I am, and they're owned by an even bigger company, a multi-global, multi-billion-dollar company. Right. So obviously not everyone is losing their jobs here, right? So the
Hmm.
biggest like stinger is just, why me over other people who might be working in similar positions to me, right? So like I can't help but feel like there is probably some weight of performance issues, but yeah, I mean I could get into the whole thing. Like I don't think it was my performance, but like light work was light. And ultimately it all just comes down to money, right? Like they felt like they weren't getting enough money, so they're just gonna get rid of me. Um,
Yeah, it's one of these things where you need to not overthink these things because it could be for any number of reasons. It could just be
Yeah,
first in, first out
yeah,
sort of thing. You just
yeah.
never
You're
know, and
right.
it's
You're right.
not
Uh,
fun, but
yeah, but
sometimes
say la vie.
stuff like that happens.
But the silver lining bits. One, I've already been actually. I picked up Uber as a side hustle just a few weeks ago, so I can double down on that now. It's not the obviously not the same level of salary I was making, right? But it's more than
Keeps you
unemployment.
going.
Yep,
Yeah.
and because this company is big, I actually got some severance pay and stuff like that. So I have at least a little to keep me going. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure to find a proper job, get a steady paycheck and whatnot. But but yeah, that's just how it is. Say lovey. All right, Al. What about you? I hope you haven't been laid off. What else have you been up to?
No, thankfully, I've not been laid off. I'm still at my terrible job. Uh, so,
That's
I've
correct.
not done a huge amount of games. I feel like I've been procrastinating with gaming in general because I didn't want to play Homestead Arcana. And the problem is, if I'm procrastinating playing a game for the podcast because I'm not enjoying it, the problem then is that I don't play other games because I feel guilty when I play different
Guilt.
games. So I just end up not playing games,
Yeah,
which is really bad. But we'll
yeah.
get into that. We'll get into that later. But what I have done is I did before I picked up Homestead Arcana because I think we only decided to do this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I played Let's Go Eevee because I hadn't finished that game. So I have now played and finished that game. Caught a
Okay.
shiny seal in it. Oh boy,
Yay.
that was a long slog.
Uh,
The game I still really like Let's Go, and I think it is one of the best Pokemon games. Full stop. I
okay.
understand why some people don't like certain aspects of it,
Yeah.
but personally, I think it is one of the best in so many ways.
Sure. Sure. Like I get that. Like there's like visually it's a beautiful, beautiful game, right? Absolutely one of the best. And there's it's very cute. It does a lot of things well, right? My problem with me is I don't like the go catching. So
Yeah,
if
no, I know.
that's the core if
And
the
that's
core
and that's and
mechanic,
that's what I'm saying. And that's
yep.
what I'm saying. That's why I think. I think that I know that's why people don't like it, and I
Yeah,
understand that.
and to be fair, that's like a completely subjective thing, right? Like
Yeah,
I know like I think you would maybe fall into this category where a lot of people don't care much for the battling or just grinding
yeah,
endlessly in
absolutely.
the other games, right? So yeah, that's completely to taste. But I will say, like what
And
I see, I think it is a well done game. It is very competent technically. It looks very good, and I
yeah.
didn't any discourse on it. I didn't hear about like let's say Scarlet Violet, any technical issues, glitches or crashes or
No,
whatever.
no. I think the most of it. So it's definitely going through a resurgence of rose tinted glasses with people. People
Okay.
who didn't like it at the time now like it because that's just the cycle with Pokemon games, right? People don't like it and then they like it because the newer thing is something else they don't
If
like.
you thought
So they
that
have
was
to
bad,
compare it to
just
oh my
wait till we
word.
drop now.
So it's just the classic cycle of Pokemon games. But yeah, I think the main thing that people didn't like was the catching, and I
Yep.
understand that.
Yep.
It's not like I think it's amazing, but I like that it's different. I don't like catching in Pokemon games in general. I don't
Yeah.
think it's fun. And so doing something different I think is exciting and fun in being different in and of itself,
I
right? The
am
whole
glad they did something different. I will say that.
Yeah. And I actually think that what they did with the legendaries in that game was the best, where you have to battle it to whittle it down. And then once you've defeated it, then you can catch it.
That is
I
fun.
think that's actually really fun. And
Yeah.
then they ended up doing that later on with raid battles, right? So now we have the raid battles where it's essentially that is you have to defeat it. And then once you've defeated it, you get a guaranteed catch. That for
Yeah.
me is actually the perfect thing. Defeat a Pokemon, then catch it. I've never understood, oh, if you knock the Pokemon out, you can't catch it. I'm like, why not? It's just lying there. Just let me catch
You
it.
know
Throw a
what?
ball at
Well
it.
said.
Surely this would be the
Well
easiest time to
said.
catch it.
I don't even need a Pokeball. I could just drag it.
Yeah, yeah,
The Slowpoke's right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is an excellent point. Um, uh, yeah, no, I can see that. Cassette Beast, you can hear about that on that greenhouse I did with Johnny. It has the mechanic where basically you enter when you say you're going to catch on a turn, the the target monster will not die, right? Otherwise, it can die normally. But if you're saying I'm going to catch you this turn, it will not die, which I think is a clever way of solving that problem.
Fine, I'll play cassette beasts already. My word.
It's pretty dang.
I just need to find some time to do it. I will do it. All right.
Okay. All right.
Goodness me. We need to have like a bunch of episodes in a row that are not specific game based, so I can just play a game without feeling guilty about not playing a farming game.
Right.
So I've also done, there was a bunch of Pokemon Violet events that I've done, which I'm still enjoying. Lots of shinies in the outbreaks. And I like the raids, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. You don't need to comment on it.
No, I'm not.
And
I will say I salute them for keeping the game going.
Yeah. And they've not recycled anything other than like one 7-star raid they've recycled.
Yeah, well, that is impressive. I salute them for that.
We're what, 18 months out?
Yeah, that is impressive. Almost 2 years, yeah.
Almost is pretty stretching it a lot.
Year and a half.
2 years. Yeah, that's why I said 18 months. That's why I said 18 months, Kevin.
The next 6 months will fly by. Just you wait.
Oh, sure. And then in 6 months, I will say it's been 2 years. Okay. But I won't say it's almost 2.5 years, will I?
Mathematically, if you round, if you're at 5, you round up to the nearest 10. All right.
And I've just recently picked up Farm RPG.
What is Farm RPG? Tell me, I don't remember.
I don't want to say too much about it just now. But basically,
there another time you'd like to talk about it?
It's a text-based farming game on mobile.
Okay.
So
that's
I don't want to talk much more about it, but it's a thing that may well be mentioned in the future.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay.
He says, looking at the list of upcoming episodes right next to the show notes. All right. Cool. Should we talk about some news? Because apparently we're 25 minutes in and we've already done over an hour-long greenhouse. So the first few beats of news are pretty quick. So first of all, we got Fabledom 1.0 is out now.
Yes, and it was on sale. I don't know if it still is, but I bought it. It was on sale.
It is still on sale. Were you waiting for this one?
Yes, for 1.0. Yes, I bought it. I installed it. I haven't played it, but it's there ready for me to fire.
Is that the one you said you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Games!
Let's see.
This is the
if
village
no one else
builder.
has covered it by the time I'm done with Starstruck Vagabond, I will do that.
All right.
But that's a month away.
All right.
Next we have Fields of Mistra. Their early access is coming out on the 5th of August.
Okay. Let me see. Hold on.
I don't
remember this one.
This was the one that when it was first announced, it was like all these high quality graphics, and then the first game they showed it was like pixel art, and we're like, I was not expecting pixel art based on all of the images you've already put out. This is it says it's RPG, so presumably there's like more of a story to it, but other than that, it just looks like it's just another Stardew type thing. So. Yeah,
I'm
maybe
looking
I'll
at
it
it.
at some point, but
it's Stardew-y. Their aesthetic is different. Like even from the base art, like they're trying to invoke 90s-ish anime Sailor Moon looking stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's coming across pretty well in pixel art. It is cute. I think it might have a little more personality than Stardew, just art-wise. I like how there's 12 marriage candidates and 2 of them are in shadow.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I mean, nothing about it looks bad. It's just nothing makes me go, I need to play this.
I get that for sure. It does feel like a lot of inspiration from 90s RPGs like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Just a lot of the animations and things like that. Like when they pick up an item, they do a little V with their fingers, and it's cute. I will say the game looks cute. Right? I don't see any huge mechanics that make it scream that stand out from Stardew, but it's looks like a pretty nice Stardew-esque. Stardew Light. Are we going to coin that term?
No.
What is the difference
It's called
between a
farming
Stardew Light
game.
and a Stardew Light?
Stop it. I'll ban you from the podcast. Research Story have their 0.8 update, which I'm pretty sure is out now. They've not actually said it's out now, but I'm pretty sure it's out now. Let's go with it's out now.
Okay.
They've added more farm buildings and the ability to build, move, and demolish them. Barns, sheds, fun times, and lots of other small stuff.
Yep.
Lots of quality of life features, lots of new content, new creatures, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Looks like they're getting close to 1.0 if they're at 0.8. It's about a year it's been in early access so far, I think. Yeah, February 23 it came out in early access, so a little bit over a year.
Well, when it hits 1.0, maybe I'll look at it. No offense, just...
What do I look like? Someone who plays a game pre 1.0? Come on. Speaking of updates, My Time at Sandrock, the 1.3 update is coming 28th of May, and they're also releasing a Monster Whisperer DLC, which includes new pets.
Okay. Pets are cool.
With a new pets training and battle-related content. So you're going to get your pets and they're going to fight to the death.
Oh, sick. A game where animal creatures fight each other?
It's the My Time at Sandrock Pokemon update.
This idea has potential. It's like a lizard with a pumpkin on its back. Oh my goodness. Okay. Some of these animals are really cute. I can't wait. Literal dog fighting in this one.
Yeah. I'm still not going to play it. Moonlight Peaks have announced that they're going to be published by Xseed, which is part of Marvelous.
Yeah,
so that's cool. That's all.
What is this one? I know
about that one.
I don't remember what this one is. Vampire Life.
Yeah, the vampire one. You're a vampire.
Okay.
Or there are vampires. I can't remember.
It says you are a vampire. It says live the vampire life in a magical town.
It's got that chibi art style.
A supernatural dating. Are you excited? Boy, that's an Animal Crossing style. That's what that is.
Werewolves, witches, and mermaids.
Yeah, it looks cute for somebody who's a big fan of little horror cutesy stuff. This might be for you actually. It feels very Animal Crossing.
I'll probably play it at some point.
I don't know if I will. Maybe. How scary are the werewolves? I need to see.
Look, it's not about how scary they are, is it, for you? It's about how good looking they are.
Well,
and are they voiced by Ray Chase?
What do you think about that? Well, you got me there.
If you want Kevin to like something, put Ray Chase in it.
It's pretty 1-to-1.
Traveller's Rest have announced that they are going to work on a Switch version after their roadmap is finished. So I think that means probably in many years to come.
Oh my goodness, that sounds correct.
Like, there is no way that they get their roadmap done before next year. And if they're not even going to start on the Switch version until after their whole roadmap is finished.
Oh, Switch 2 will be out
before that comes out. Oh, but
Switch
3. Switch 2 will be 2 years old by then.
Oh yeah. When was the last time a game finished a roadmap?
Oh, well, that's the thing. Yeah, Stardew maybe. Maybe not. Speaking of Switch, coming to Switch is Garden Witch Life have announced that they'll be releasing on Switch and Xbox and PlayStation. They didn't say when, but the way that it's worded makes it sound like probably the same time as the Steam version comes out.
You'd hope so, but it's vague enough, maybe not.
Yeah, don't hold me to that. Don't hold them to that. But it's coming out at the end of this year. So I feel like at this point in time, saying that makes there's the implication. The implication is there, I think. And
Yeah.
hopefully they've thought that through and they've realized that that would be the implication. So therefore that's what they're saying rather than not realizing that would be the implication.
Ugh.
I feel like if you're at this point where you're 6 months away from releasing and you say, oh, we're also coming to console, and you don't say after the Steam release, I feel like you're just asking for people to be annoyed.
That is correct. Because gamers. Man, I'm looking through the pictures here because I can't remember what the game is. First of all, there's some very cute animals in here. Look at this bunny. It's just like a dust cloud with ears, and bees, and there's like little rocks with eyes. It's very cute. I just feel so bad about this name.
Fat.
Garden Witch Life. Like it's
I know.
Mad
It's
Libs.
so generic.
Mad Libs of generic cottage core.
That's a good point. It's totally like they've just taken genres and shoved them together to make them.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's see. It's a life sim, but it's you're growing things in your garden, and you're a witch. There you go. Name sorted.
You can build friendships with the townsfolk.
Imagine that.
You know what I would like to imagine? Like to imagine myself playing Southfield.
Southfield. This might be the game I'm most excited about right now.
It feels like the most unique thing in this space of gaming in a while.
I don't play many early access games, but I feel like I might need to play this one in early access.
They had a demo which felt like it could have been an early access game because it was so big. You couldn't save.
Well, that's the thing. Because I listened to you and Johnny talking about Southfield. Can't remember. Was it you that played it, or was it Johnny that
played it?
You played it. I heard you talking about it on that demos episode, and based on that, I just feel like this early access feels like it's going to be a good early access.
I can easily see that. I feel strongly that will be.
Which is, and I feel like this piece of news actually encourages me more about that they actually care about how it works. Is they've said that the multiplayer is not coming to early access at launch. I'll just read out their quote. Southfield was originally conceived as a single-player experience, but as soon as we started playtesting the game, people told us they would love to share this island with friends. We agree, and that's why multiplayer has become part of our roadmap for a while. However, multiplayer engineering is one of the most complex things to pull off for a relatively small development team, meaning we've had to make some pretty tough decisions, and one of those is to not include multiplayer at early access launch. So I feel like the fact that they realise that means that, well, one, I suspect they're probably pretty close to early access.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it means that they want the early access to be solid.
I agree. I mean, like, for a game to release a pre-early access demo like that and to be that solid, like, I think they care a lot. Not only that, they say they want to leave early access in 2025, right? Which is pretty close. So yeah, the early access should be dropping pretty soon, I imagine. You know what?
Yeah.
I think it's cool they want to do multiplayer. I get that. I'd be okay if they drop the 1.0 without multiplayer because I just want to play this game.
Yeah, I think I understand that. I think I also understand why they would want to get it in for 1.0.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, honestly, I would say make that the last thing you add. If you want it to be in 1.0, make it the 1.0. Like, add it in right at the end. Like, make it, this is the, because that, I think, becomes a really big thing to bring people back. Because, like, we've talked about this before, where the problem with early access is you're splitting out your release into multiple releases. Right. So there's less, like, reason for people to come back.
That's true.
But I think if you have something like multiplayer, I think multiplayer is big enough that if you have that as the 1.0 the big 1.0 feature, that brings people back who have previously played it.
Yep. Okay.
But we'll see. But they've also said there's going to be a few features that were coming later in early access that they've moved to the early access launch. They say to compensate, but I'm like, I don't think you need to compensate for that.
No, they really don't.
Like, some people care, but like, it's early access. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And like, I can't stress how much of a game it already feels like.
Yeah.
There is plenty in there. I don't need
Every time they post something about this game, I'm more excited for it. Like, the different crops. Like, there's one that you can eat that makes you go on fire and stuff like
That's
that.
correct.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's that. I mean, that's the core. That's feel like the core concept of the game. Absolutely ridiculous, and it's great. I love being a gun drop guy. Stay wibbly, flop in the Southfield team. That's how they sign off. I like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. They're doing everything right. Right?
They
They're
are
things
doing
well. They're
Yep.
doing some different things,
Yep.
while still adding to like the stuff that we like. So I'm all for this.
Yep. Absolutely.
Speaking of doing everything right, Stardew Valley. We,
Yeah.
we have an article with an interview with Concerned Ape about Stardew Valley.
We
I
learned
just
where the
wanna pick out-
concern comes from.
I want to pick out just a couple things, a couple quotes from this article to talk about. So the first one is they say, Barone, that's Concerned Ape, he's called Eric Barone. Barone now works with the team on Stardew Valley's more technical aspects, and he wanted 1.6 to focus on technical tweaks and nothing more. Side note, I remember him saying about that when he first announced 1.6 was coming. He was like, it's mostly going to be stuff for mods. And that's how that turned out.
Uh-huh.
The quote
Yep.
the quote continues, but then he began to dread what fans might think if he didn't go all out on yet another update. I'm a little bit sad about this. I have like mixed feelings on this. I think the way that this is worded makes it sound like he felt he couldn't do an update that didn't include a bunch of new content. And I think that's sad.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like, so I think that's pretty much the case. And I'm starting to get the feeling Concerned Ape is like very, well, I mean, not just starting, like, I think it's been apparent. He's a very perfectionist-esque person, right? Where he
Yeah.
puts a lot of pressure on himself, let's say, right? He's very demanding of himself and his work, right? Like, I think the other example I can point to is Sakurai in Smash Bros, right? Like, he went to insane levels to make those games amazing. And they're incredible, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if you heard, at one point, Sakurai went into the office with an IV drip because he was feeling sick, but he
Yeah.
still wanted to work.
Yeah, I suspect that Concerned Ape probably has a healthier work-life balance.
Hopefully.
Is what I would say.
Hopefully, right? I just don't want to go to that, of course, right? Like, if that's the extreme, I hope he doesn't get to that point.
Yeah. Nobody should ever get to that point.
No.
If you find yourself on an IV drip in work, that's the point to say you've gone too far. Right,
Yep.
you probably should have. You've probably gone too far a couple of years earlier, right?
Yep.
This isn't the point where you've gone too far, but this is the point to realize that you've gone too far because that's ridiculous. So I think then there's another quote later on from Concerned Ape, and he says, Once I reopen the book on Stardew, I always have a hard time closing it again because I always want to add more things, make it better, make it cooler, make people happy. It's exciting. Every single thing I'm adding, I'm thinking about how people are going to play this and talk about it and love it. It's going to be part of their experience. It could make a memory that they might cherish forever. That's a special thing. It's hard for me to not want to do that. So when I read the first bit, I was like, oh, I really hope he's not doing this because he feels he has to. And then I read the second bit and went, no, he does have to.
Yep.
Not like his brain won't let him stop.
Yep. Right. And like, again, Sakurai, the thing that Sakurai example is an extreme example, but I think it's the same sort of like mental route, right? Where it has to be exactly how they want it to be or whatever. And that can be a dangerous road. So, I just hope he's taking care of himself. That's the main thing, right? Like, clearly he's finding success. He's making money. So, I'm not worried about that. But still, don't go too hard. Consider Ape.
Yeah, there's other bits in the article which I'll post, because people might find it interesting. But one other thing, just quickly, is that there's a hint that maybe there could be another update coming that would have input from the team that he's created around Stardew, because it's now not just him working on it. He's got more people doing it, but he basically debates whether he could actually do that or not. Because like, could he actually let people do it without then getting involved himself? And he's trying to,
I'm going to say, no, he can't.
There was one point, I remember this at the time, nearly 2 years ago now. There was a tweet from him replying to someone. So much of his news is just like posting random replies to people on Twitter. So someone asked him 2 years ago, so June 2022, will Stardew get future updates? And he replies and says 1.6, yes, but it's mostly a modding focused update. Makes modders' lives easier. There will be some new content, but it won't be huge.
Things that aged poorly.
And then he says 1.6, who knows? So like 1.7, sorry, 1.7, who knows? So yeah, I think that I really hope he does it because he likes it and because he wants to, not because he feels like he needs to.
Like, I'm sure he likes it. Like, these aren't mutually exclusive, right?
You're right. I want him. I know. That's just my point.
Yeah, I know. I get it, right?
Because he has given us enough.
Yes.
I don't care what other people say. He has given us enough in this game.
Absolutely.
Right? Like if he wants to do more, do it. Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think anyone will ever say that he hasn't given us enough in Stardew.
Oh no, there will be some people.
Well, okay.
There's always some stupid people.
Okay. Well, okay. The vast majority of people, right? The general, like, of course, there's always exceptions and outliers, but I think the general discourse, I've never heard anyone say otherwise about Stardew. But I think the bigger problem is going to be his own inner voice. That's my concern. But we'll see.
Let's see if Haunted Chocolatier ever actually.
Stay tuned for our concerned about concern day segments.
So our last piece of news before we've got a couple of new games, but the last piece of news before that is some news about Phoenix Labs, which is the developer of Fae Farm and Dauntless. They've announced that they've cancelled all of their projects except Fae Farm and Dauntless, and they've laid off quite a lot of people.
How many are we talking?
It's a couple hundred.
Ooh, that's a lot of people.
I don't think we have over 100 people is the kind of number I've seen from sources, but I don't think we have any concrete numbers. But yeah, this is interesting on multiple levels. So one, interesting that they're like, oh, the only two things that we're going to continue doing are Dauntless and Fae Farm. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, I didn't realize Fae Farm was successful. Two, their statement talks about them being live service games. I don't think Fae Farm's a live service game.
Well, they're going to make it.
Like, they have updates that they're doing, but that's not what live service is, right?
Well.
And obviously it's really sad that a bunch of people have been laid off.
Yep.
Obviously. Goes without saying, but
yeah, so,
I need to say it anyway.
Clearly, right? And should I say my piece? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I feel bad for them, right? And
anti-capitalism rant.
Yeah. Like, I of course I get into all of that. Like, I just want to share that, like, I forgot to mention earlier. So when I got laid off earlier this week, first of all, it came out of left field. I didn't get a 2 weeks notice, just then and there. They're like, we'll give you an extra 2 weeks of pay, but we're kicking you out right now. And obviously, like, that sucked. And like, I even just trying to process that moment, right? But the really sucky part came just a bit later. So it was around lunchtime when they called me in, and they let me know or whatever and gave me paperwork, yada yada. And so I went. First thing I did was just go out because I hadn't had lunch yet. I went to go out, grab a sandwich, and kind of process my own thoughts at that moment, right? So then I went back in to the office and started going around talking to some of my, people I was friends with and such, and just letting people know and getting phone contact numbers and things like that, right? But then this is what killed me. Like, as I was sitting at my desk after sitting down, getting ready to pack up my stuff, the guy who fired me, who was in charge of that, he comes up to me and he says, okay, I need you to leave the building, like, right now. Like, my goodness. Like, I didn't respond at that moment. I was still such in shock about everything. I was just like, okay. Wow, the insensitivity of that, right? And just, it feels so bad. And this again, this was a very big company, so clearly Phoenix Games or whatever this thing is called, fairly large for being able, Phoenix Labs, being able to fire hundreds of people, right? Like, I'm sure they weren't very sensitive about those layoffs either. Well, I could say
No.
I'm guessing they aren't, but
You can't be when there's that many people you're laying off.
exactly, right?
Not if you're going to do it like that, right?
Right,
It's just not
exactly,
possible.
right? And so that's just
And apparently, some people were laid off. Like apparently, according to one of Insider, they were planning on announcing one of their games in 3 weeks. And so there's a bunch of people who have been for the last couple of months crunching to be excited to announce this game, and then that's it, they're gone.
oh yeah, lovely. Oh, I get that too, right? Before I was fired, like I had some project. That morning of like, of course, I was dealing with a project and talking with people, and everything's normal. And then all of a sudden, bam! Like, oh, that's so. Like, I will try to be sympathetic to a business and say, okay, maybe there's points where you have to lay a person off, right? Like, sure, right? Like, you know, playing within the messed up system or
In
whatever.
theory.
In theory, okay, you know what? You're very much right. In theory, right? But like, still, just I wish it could be handled with a little more humanity, right? And that's the part. Like, I think people like it's not just a company thing; it's a person thing. Like, there are people who could handle who can. There are people who can make decisions to handle that better. So, it's just the worst, and I feel so bad for these people at Phoenix Labs. And of course, uh, this is game industry, which has been horrendous this year. The massive amount of layoffs, thousands and thousands of employees across the board just getting laid off in all sorts of companies. Not a great time for the games industry. Anyways, yeah, like that's just some more sentiments I had on the thought. But going back to this particular thing about Phoenix Labs, the fact that they say that they're just going to keep those two games, I don't think they were doing that well. Like, they're not.
Well, looking at the list of games they've actually released, they're the only two they've released.
Oh, yep.
So,
Well,
like, that screams to me massive financial problems in the company.
yep.
If they have two games and they've cancelled every other game that they
Yep.
haven't released, like that just screams to me something is seriously wrong in the company.
Absolutely
And
right.
it makes me it sounds like they were in. This is all just me assuming things and guessing things.
Armchair
Based on
CEOs,
other
us here right
information.
now.
I think that what has happened here is they're not profitable, right? Which is pretty standard for a lot of companies.
Sure.
They're only 10 years old, not profitable, and they were looking for another round of investment money and they couldn't get it, and therefore they ran out of money. That
Yeah.
is my theory.
That sounds very plausible. Absolutely. And I made the joke earlier about how, well, now they're going to make Fae Farm into live service, but now thinking about it, no, I think that's actually what's going to happen. They probably designed it not with live service and scope, but now they're going to force it in there.
Well, the thing about that is that's really hard to do because
Oh yeah,
if people don't want the live service thing, they just don't update.
yeah.
Oh no, what are you going to do? Force me to update? You can't.
Well, yeah, but wait, they should have put in their posts. But phoenixes always rise from the ashes.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what continues, what happens with them, and whether the next DLC, because there's still an upcoming DLC for Fae Farm. Let's see if it happens.
Yeah. Well, my condolences, people who were laid off. I'm with you. At least, like I said, there's a little kinship when you're fired off with multiple people at once. I was one of like two people that I know of that were fired. So, yeah. But yeah, not great.
No, not great.
You know what is? I don't know if this is great. Is this next thing great?
Well, let's see. So we've got two new games. The first one is Little Known Galaxy.
Very cute name.
This will be already out when the episode comes out. It releases in 2 days as we're recording.
Oh,
20th of May. It's a space farming game. I don't know what else to say. Space farming game.
Okay, but this one actually looks cute, unlike Lonely Outpost or whatever.
Yeah. So my problem is that, yeah, this looks good, but I'm all in on already on playing Starstruck Vagabond. And so maybe that's me saturated with space farming game for just now.
Yeah, that's fair. Like that would be too. That's very specific, and that'd be too much, right? Yeah. So I
Especially
agree.
as they're releasing the same week.
Yeah,
What
and
are
then
the
there's that, right?
chances? So
Yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah, and I get similar vibes from the. Well, like just I don't know. I get it. I
Well,
get
so
it.
Starstruck Vagabond technically isn't a farming game.
Okay.
It's a delivery game.
Okay.
But I think, let's be honest, the mechanics are going to be very similar.
Oh, of course
Right?
they are.
Like, so just because it's technically not farming doesn't mean it's not, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll do my usual of the reading out the blurb. Join Space Alliance as a new captain in training and work with your crew to solve the mysteries of an ancient relic found on the Grey Planet. Little Known Galaxy is a cozy single-player RPG. Stop using the word cozy in your game description. Cozy single-player RPG space adventure full of friendly characters, exploration, crafting, and farming.
So
It looks cute.
it looks cute. One thing
That's...
one thing I will say, like I'm positive they won't do it, but like I think there was an opportunity here to play more of the captain slash manager of the ship, right? Like
Yeah.
assign people to farm and stuff like that. I think that would be cool. I don't think that's going to happen in this game, but it's just a thought. That would be,
Yeah.
in this specific setting, it would work really well, right? Like here's a ship and you're in command of the ship, so tell how to run the ship and all that. That would be really fun. But alas, that's just in the dream games. Hey, at least there's no romance that I can see.
There is romance.
Oh, gosh darn it.
Build a friendship date and marry one of the 10 singles aboard the ship.
Where was
Each one with a unique backstory.
Ah! Ah!
But can you marry someone that is an android, an alien, or a genetic clone? Yes. Yes, you can. What did they mean by a genetic clone? Did they mean a clone of you?
Oh.
Because that's weird.
Okay,
And do they mean a clone of some random person? Because if that's so, what does that matter?
well,
Like, I'm so confused as to why that would matter if it's not a clone
well,
of you.
if you want that question answered, Al, there's a show called X-Men 97 that can answer that for you.
Well,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
But if Scott had always married Madeline, it wouldn't have mattered that she was a clone.
Yeah.
He would have known that. Right?
Oh, true.
But that
true.
was the whole point, is that he didn't marry her.
Yeah. True.
Or did he? Because if she was created after they got married, technically he married both of them.
Sick.
Clone logic.
Well, they won't lean into that, but boy, I'd be on board if they did that. If they went on board with the weirdness, you know what? If they were all in, like when you marry an android, I don't think
it's going to lean into the weirdness, Kevin.
It's not very cozy, isn't it?
It's not. It's not. Not at all. And the other game, now this one I am very excited about. This is Overthrown. There's not a huge amount of information on this game because it's all just on Twitter and TikTok. They don't have a Steam page up or not. But this is calling itself a city builder, but it's like third person, so it's not like a...
Wow, that is a link! I'm sorry, I looked at the video and that, like, Breath of the Wild, that's Link.
So,
wow.
Guess, yeah. But the thing about this is you can pick up and throw everything in the game. Anything in the game.
That is a fun mechanic.
So examples are you can pick up and move your buildings to wherever you want, but then you can also you can throw things at buildings to add them to the inventory, so you don't have to go in and add it there. You've got a sawmill. You can throw wood at the sawmill to turn it into planks. You can throw trees at the sawmill to turn it into planks. You can throw the sawmill at a tree.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
You can just pick up a throw. You can do a Goku run, like a really super fast run, while holding a sawmill, hitting all the trees and turning them all into wood.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's literally running across water.
You can run across water. You can spin really fast with your sword and take off like a helicopter.
um,
This is
I
somehow
do.
doing everything that is doing everything that Southfield is doing, but differently, but
Yeah,
in the
it's
same sort of cool way
yeah. So it's
that I
it's
like.
physics-ish based, right? Like, but
Yes.
it's a little more structured. Clearly, Southfield is all about being goofy and silly and crazy and bouncy. Here, you're clearly trying to accomplish stuff. It's not a wacky world; it's a nice little fantasy world or whatever. But the the physics based portion of it still makes it feel dynamic because this in little space of the gaming world is very saturated with similar mechanics. So I still appreciate it. And I admire their chutzpah for just putting Link from Breath of the Wild in here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I like the look of this. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this.
Oh, you can
I
grab a
have no
person and throw
information.
them. I don't know where you're taking
Yeah,
them, but
you can pick up and throw everything. They're
yeah.
calling it, so they've decided the genre name is Bingo Bongo City Builder.
Okay.
Not sure why,
I don't either.
but
I'm like, okay.
so it also sounds like, based on what they're saying in one of the tweets, that there might be multiple different people you play as you go through the game.
Okay.
But
I'm just
look,
looking.
I'm
You
excited.
can have farmers, like you can control or manage farmers. It looks like. Um, the world looks fun. Like it looks Minecraft-esque in its design. Um, like it's big and there's a lot to explore. And
Oh yeah, I
I'm
see
down
what
for
you mean
this.
about the farmers.
Yeah, I'm down for this.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm.
interested.
Yeah, I am very interested in this. It looks like it's quite early in its cycle, but it's still looking really nice already.
Yeah, it is.
So here's hoping there's a lot to do.
Yep. I hope we can. I hope it comes out and we can play it.
Yeah, well. Anyway, that's all the news and the new games, and that's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
So we're now going to talk about Homestead Arcana.
Yay.
Wow, Kevin, it sounds like you love this game. Okay, let's just hold it there.
Okay.
So, I guess an intro to this game. How would you describe this? So, it's an RPG-esque farming game where the focus is very much not on the farming.
Yep.
You are what was the term? It's like what's the term they use for you?
You're a witch,
It's not
aren't
witch
you?
or wizard. It's like, no, it's I'm sure there's another term they use.
Homesteader? I don't know. Pretty sure you're just a witch.
Oh, it does say witch on the thing. Okay, never mind. Fine. I thought there was a different word. Anyway, your job is that you are sent to an area that has this like thing called miasma, which is like this wispy, dark, evil thing.
Evil
And
fog.
Evil fog. That's a fog. That's a good way of describing it. And your job is to get rid of it. And you do that through farming and through a bunch of other stuff. And you go into it and you try and clear it. We'll get into the mechanics of that later.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair introduction to how this game works?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the elevator pitch.
So before we get into the mechanics, I want to talk about the graphics and the audio.
Uh-huh.
I really like how this game looks.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's like I was jokingly doing a mildly enthused yay earlier, but that is a big part of what attracted me to it. Like the game looks nice, right? Like the trailers look nice. It's very nice presentation. It's full 3D, right? It's not grid-based farming or whatever. It's visually it's a different presentation from a lot of your other standard farming or cottagecore games or whatever. Yeah. The and well, I feel like I'm going to dive into the mechanics, but just I wish it could keep up with that because it feels like a lot of work into it, but just I don't know the scope isn't as big as I would have hoped. It is interesting that there's almost no characters. Right?
Two characters.
I found a
There's
third
your
one.
Cat.
I found a third.
Oh, you found a third one.
I found a third.
From what I've found so far, there's your cat and there's like a shopkeeper.
Yep, and yourself. right? There's
And
lots.
generic enemies that you don't actually encounter because there's no combat in this game.
Yeah, no, they just hit you.
There's
Yeah,
running and hiding. That is
yep.
the combat in this game.
Avoiding, yep. There are letters and you can and stuff you can learn that way. But yeah, it's interesting how it's very solo almost, right? You have your cat
Yeah,
Huckleberry. That's your
and
main thing.
I feel like there's a space for that. Like,
Absolutely.
we not everything needs to be character based.
Right.
Stories can be good without other characters,
Absolutely.
and games can be good without really in depth stories,
Absolutely.
and etc. etc. But that's not what this is.
No.
Okay, well let's get into the mechanics then. Let's talk about the farming, because I feel like the farming is the most different from other farming games.
Right.
And I feel like, in my opinion, they had some interesting ideas.
Absolutely. Like that's kind of the game in a nutshell for me. They have a lot of interesting ideas, but
interesting ideas.
They didn't go all the way with it, right? So
yeah. So I guess the way to describe this is normal farming game, you have a seed, you plant the seed, you water the seed, it grows, right? And that's it. That's the most you have you might fertilize it, right? But that's basically it. That's all you do. Very simplified. In this case, you plant a seed. First of all, the plants are immortal. You can kill them, I think, but if you don't kill them,
you don't even kill them. They get sick.
So they never.
They can get better.
Okay, they recover, can they? Yeah. So like they're basically immortal. They never die. But that does mean you also have a very few crops. Like this is not a plant 100 things and harvest them all thing.
It is plant one tomato plant, and that's all you need, because you will get X number of tomatoes from it every day.
Every single day. Which I like. I like that. I like the consistency of that. Once you've got a plant and you've got it to the point where it's producing fruit, you get it every day. I quite like that.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is they have a way to use your magic to increase its speed.
Yep.
And change how it grows.
Yeah. So yeah, you just call it channeling, and it's just this little magic thing you do. You collect a bunch of magic dots and put it. It's very nothing mechanic, or like you don't have to do much. But it is the fact that it's optional and speeds up the growth, I think, is fun, right? And that
that you can muck it up as well.
Right, absolutely, right. Even if you
otherwise
do too much.
Otherwise you would just do it all, and it would, because you'd be disadvantaged if you didn't do it.
Right, absolutely, right. Because you could spam it, but I think they call it blight. The plant will get sick and not produce fruit for a while. It will recover eventually, but like you said, I think it's a very interesting idea. I wish they, at least to where I am in the game, like I haven't found more magic mechanics for the farming. I wish they could go a little further. But at least on paper, I think it's cool. They're being different, right? Just one plant of each kind, more or less. You can plant multiple if you'd like to. You can find a few different seeds. Just making that the focus instead of huge fields is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it needed more work to make it replayable. And nobody is going to sink 100 hours into this game.
No,
like nobody is.
Yeah. So
so looking on Steam, like all the people even that are positively reviewing it, they have like 20 hours, 30 hours. And that's not necessarily, like, not all games need to be long. But farming games, people put a lot of time into those games.
Right.
And so if you've got your most excited people have put in 20 hours, that's not saying a lot.
Well, okay, like I'm going to the problem is the core loop, right? Because I'm going to jump ahead to the miasma thing, right? Because
let's do it. Let's go for it. Yeah, because there's probably not something interesting to say about crafting and cooking, really.
Yeah, I mean, no,
they exist.
They exist.
That's fine.
Yeah,
they're done. Right, cool. Let's go on to the unique thing then, miasma.
Yeah, I'll let you say. Go ahead, Al. Say your thing.
Surprise! It's a roguelite
once again. What?
I will. No, so before, I mean, it's a funny joke. Haha.
Yes.
Al played another roguelite.
Yes.
But what I will say is that although I don't like this game overall, I like some of what it does. I don't like it overall. I think it did the good thing with the roguelite that Cult of the Lamb did as well, which is where your runs, you only lose what you got on the run.
Yep.
So you don't have to restart anything.
Yep.
It's like if you die on your run, that's fine. You're back at the place with all the things that you had before your run, and that's fine. There are consequences, but the consequences are only for that run. And that's what I really like. I don't like when it's like the whole game is the run, right? I like having this little area that I'm building up, and it's like, yeah, sure, you've got that in like Hades, but it's not really.
Yeah, yeah, I get. Yeah, no, the Hades is much more about each run than the whole game as a whole.
Exactly. So that's what I like about. So actually, I don't like this game, but it's not because of the roguelite aspect, because actually they did it roughly well.
Furthermore, it's not even randomly generated stuff. It's one area that is set.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to get farther and further into it every time you go in. Because
exactly. So you don't feel like you're missing out on something. If you fail out on a run, that's fine. You're going to do that exact same run again later and fix it.
Yep. And it's called runs because, again, it's dangerous, evil, spooky, miasma fog. You have a limited amount of time before you start taking damage. Because you do have health and stamina in this game. And so the fog itself is a threat. There are also enemies in there. Like we mentioned, you can't really fight them, as at least up to what we've seen. So the question is, how do you avoid them?
I double-checked. There definitely isn't. It's not
there you go.
It's not just what... There just isn't any.
Well, there you go. So the question is, how are you avoiding them or evading them or whatever, right? And so this is where the core loop becomes. Like, one of the big parts of jumping into the miasma is to find resources that have been left in the wasteland or whatever, right? Finding new seeds or items or potions or recipes or whatever. You bring them back to your home base, and then you work on gathering the resources you need from your farming or whatever. You craft them up, and then you come up with like a potion that will help you pass this new obstacle. And it's kind of like that cycle over and over, where you're just trying to get further into the miasma to find new resources to bring back to gear yourself up better, and go on and so forth. Now, I should say, I reached a point where I cleared the first, I'll call it a map. They call it the canyon area, and I actually cleared it and got rid of the miasma permanently. So I can now just hang out there, and the land is normal. And that opens up a little bit more stuff for you. But the second area, they call the forest, I think. It's the same idea, where you're going in, there's new obstacles, new threats, and you're just trying to gather the resources, come back, and so on and so forth, right? And this is, I think, the heart of the problem. Like, it's hard to feel like you're really working for anything, if that makes sense, right? Like, even your home base, you're not making this huge farm. Like, you can buy stuff, decorations and whatnot, but they don't. But one, they're not really encouraging you to do so, and two, it's kind of expensive and hard to do so. I personally think so.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like, it's merging farming games with kind of RPGs and not really doing either of them well.
Yep.
And it's kind of like taking the meh bits of both and smooshing them together.
Yep.
And funnily enough, you end up with a big pile of meh.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. It's a shame. I really wanted to like this game. Like I said, it looked very nice, the presentation, right? They even got...
You've been wanting to cover this for months.
Yeah, they even got some solid voice acting in there. Like, honestly, one of the biggest things they got me, they got Yuri Lowenthal to voice the cat. And Yuri Lowenthal is
the cat,
big name.
And the cat is actually, I quite like him, right? Like, this is the thing. I don't think every game needs to be character driven, but it honestly feels like that's the thing they're doing best. So lean into that.
Yeah.
Make more characters, make more character driven stories in this.
Yeah.
Expand the farming a little bit, and you've got a completely different game that would probably be much more fun to play.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think, yeah.
Like, it's not a million miles away from being a good game.
No, it's not, right? Like, I feel like it's a problem of scope that they're not expanding in the areas they need to, like you said, right? Like, if you could focus on building up a big farm or house or whatever, right? That'd be more interesting. A goal to aim, right? They try to have this plot and lore and backstory and stuff. But if they got more characters who were voiced and whatnot, like Huckleberry the cat, that would make it a lot more engaging instead of just reading stuff. Like I said, I
Yeah.
did find a third character, so that's interesting. Um, but it's still not enough to sustain the game. They need to do a lot more of what they have. They have the ingredients there. It just needs more.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think it's because it doesn't need more characters. It doesn't need a bigger story. It doesn't need more farming, but it needs one of them.
You're right.
It
Right.
needs more of something.
It needs more of something, right? Yeah, it doesn't have to be all of these because that's a lot of game, but just one thing to expand. Like for me, I think if you could expand on building up your farm and how you want it to look like and all that, I think that would be a lot more engaging. But it's just so hard, especially again with the core loop just kind of being repetitive and go into the miasma, get stuff, come out,
So
stewed up
grindy.
and whatnot, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just um it's unfortunate that like that's the only way to progress or that's the only real objective you feel like you have, and it's hard to feel like you're just like wondering like, well, why am I doing this, right? Like you don't feel very motivated, let's say,
Yeah.
to accomplish it. Like they tell you why, but it's I don't know, it's hard to feel very
Telling you why is not the same as having a good reason
yeah,
to
thank you.
do
That's
something.
a excellent way of
You
putting
know.
it. Yes, absolutely right. Um, so yeah, that's the unfortunate part. Um, like all in all, it's a very straightforward game, I'd say, right? Like I feel like we've already covered most of it.
Yeah, well,
Because
and that's part of the problem.
yeah, yeah, right.
Right.
Like, uh,
Because, like, this is the thing. Like, I had four things on my list: farming, crafting, cooking, miasma. And then, as we got to the end of farming and went to go on to the next bit, you were talking about going on to miasma. And I was like, yeah, because there's nothing to talk about with crafting and
no,
cooking.
I mean it's just oh oh
It is
oh
what it is,
oh.
exactly
There
what you
is one thing
expect.
I want to talk about that I like. Just
Oh,
a
go for it.
minor-esque thing. The inventory. Um, It is not just a list. It's not just a bag. I think they call it I think Resident Evil 4 did it first, the attaché case, where basically you have like the items and you have to fit them in a grid, like physically. They take up X number of blocks in your grid.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's kind of cute. It's different. I
I'm
liked it,
glad you like it.
and they have a button to
I
auto sort it for you.
I personally don't like those things because
Uh,
it's like I actually want. I think that games like this nowadays should probably be much less restrictive in these things, not more restrictive.
mm,
Like I
sure.
still get frustrated that in Stardew there's still a maximum number. Like you start off with, what is it, 8, and you can get a maximum of 24 things. Like it's bizarre that I can have everything in the game in
Mm.
Stardew, but I can still have a maximum of 24 different items.
You know, that's
It's
a good
just
point.
bizarre to me.
Yeah. All right.
Like I think I can kind of see how it would be interesting for people who like roguelites and stuff like that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, is like when you're out on a run, you have to decide between these things. But
Yeah,
it's
well,
just,
yeah, I mean that's the problem with the
I
game,
don't
right?
play games for realism, right? I play games for other reasons.
Sure.
Like each to
Look,
their own.
I just like it because my Tetris brain likes it. I like Tetris. I like.
Just play Tetris then. Don't bring your
Mm,
Tetris into other games.
mm. Well, okay. That was really
Anything else
quick.
to talk about this game?
Yeah,
No, we done?
I think we're done. I didn't think we'd be done that fast, but yeah, there's not much
There we
here, is
are.
there?
Yeah. I mean, I think, who is there anybody you think you can recommend this game to?
Well, like not I guess someone who really wants a different kind of farming game, because I will say it is different, right? Like it's not your Stardew clone, like just to see if you like the ideas, but like it's I don't know, it didn't get its hooks into me very deeply. Um,
Yeah.
like
Well, that's an interesting point, right? Because as we like, we are I certainly, and I think you're you're similar in most cases. I am very strong that a game's worth is not based on how many hours I put into it.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
about the fun that I get out of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked
so
about
I
Princess
would say
Peach.
that
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And so nobody's going to put in 100 hours into this game, but that doesn't mean you won't have fun in the 10 hours or 20 hours that you put into it. And if you like the idea of a different kind of farming, and you like the idea of a small amount of exploration in trying to, get rid of, figure out the story and get rid of what you need to get rid of, and you want to, support developers that are making different kinds of farming games, it's not an expensive game.
I was about to say that
just for that.
We got it for $5 on sale, right? Or USD $5. I got it for $5 USD, and it's worth that, absolutely. I and I admire them for doing something different. Also, it's not a poorly made game. I think it runs well. It looks good. Everything is very complicated. I didn't experience any bugs or crashes or anything like that. So I respect them for that.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just limited in scope.
Yep, that's the problem. That's the real problem.
And it doesn't take its interesting ideas to its actual conclusions.
Yep, that's the kicker. So who knows? I honestly don't expect we'll see any big updates, but maybe one day.
No, and it's been out for over a year now.
Yeah.
And it hasn't had an update in that entire time.
Yeah.
That's not true. There was one update a month after release, but that's it. So we're not far off a year since the last update, so I don't think there's anything coming for it. So it is what it is. This game is what it is.
All
right. Well, thank you for joining me to talk about Homestead Arcana. Now you can stop bugging me about playing this game, and you can move on to. You can instead move on to bugging me about Fabledom.
Yep. But I have high hope. I had high hopes about this one, didn't I? So
feels dangerous to do.
But hey, look. All right, spoilers. The real thing. Maybe I'm working on getting Yuri. I'm seeing if I can get him to look our way. You do know? Are you? I think I've told you. Are you familiar with some of his other roles, Yuri Lowenthal?
I recognize the name, but I can't remember. I feel like you've talked to me. Oh, he was in Big Hero 6.
Oh, is he?
And
he probably was. I don't remember.
He was in Spider-Man.
Yeah, he is Spider-Man. He's the voice of Peter.
Oh, he is right. He's Peter B.
He's
Parker.
Freaking Spider-Man. He's also Sasuke from Naruto, one of the biggest animes ever. So there you go. Okay. Anyway,
he's in the game as well. He's in he does a
lot of stuff.
Oh wait. Oh no, he is right. He is the one in the games, and he plays the one in the games in Across the Spider-Verse.
There you go. Exactly.
So he's not. Yeah, he's in a Cassette Beasts as well.
Yeah, he is. I know which character too.
And
Eugene.
He is in The Bad Batch and Bayonetta 3. He's in a lot of things.
He is in a lot of things, Al.
Yeah.
Okay, he is so big.
He's in Arcane.
There's the Tales series, which is a very big RPG series in Japan. Pales, Tales series. They named a character after him because he's that big. A protagonist, like one of their main characters after him.
Yeah.
Wild stuff. Great character.
He's in Bugsnax.
He's in the Personas.
Rune Factory 5, Crash Bandicoot 4, Genshin Impact. A lot of things. A lot of animated things and a lot of games. Persona 5. Right, great. Thank you, Kevin. Where can people find you on the internet?
Find me at Cooper Prez on Twitter if you want to see my personal, at Sprider Squared if you want to see my art account, or more importantly, find me at Rainbow Road Radio, the podcast, Mario-centric podcast I do with our mutual friend Al. Or Alex, excuse me.
Nope.
Yep, no, wrong Al.
Wrong name beginning with Al.
We do a lot of Mario things. Like I said, we're playing a lot of the classics right now. Last episode we did, boy, I learned about rap and hip hop and Mario. These things tie together.
That was such a wild section.
It was.
I had the realization that they were all real the moment you had the realization as well.
Yeah, right.
It's like I was like, oh, they're all going to be real, aren't they? And then you said it. It was perfect.
And what hit me was like, Alex is talented, but I don't think he's a hip hop writer like this.
Well, my assumption is that he would use an AI thing to do it.
Or
'cause
that,
would
yeah,
be like
but
the most realistic thing he could do. But anyway,
yeah.
it's
Anyways,
very funny.
so yeah, go listen to that. That was a wild ride. Boy, we have lots of wild rides over there in Mario Land. What about you, Al? Where do people find you?
You can find me here on this podcast because I'm back. I didn't expect to be off for 4 episodes. That's how it happened.
And then you'll be off until we're both back on again.
No, I'm currently
No, that's
signed
not
up
true.
for the
Yeah,
next
you're the
4
next one.
episodes.
No.
You can also find me on mastodon.scot and Twitter at thescotbot. You can find the podcast on Tumblr and on Twitter at thspod. You can find all the information about the podcast, including feedback form and links, at harvestseason.club, our lovely website. One of the links you can find there is to our Patreon, where you can subscribe and give me money to keep the podcast going.
And in exchange, we'll give you access to a secret society club called the Greenhouse, where you can listen to us talk about things that aren't farming games or cottagecore games or whatever.
Yeah, we just did 2 episodes about Eurovision. So if you want me and Cody's opinions on this year's Eurovision, you can
question. I haven't listened to the Eurovision episode. So was the stuff already happening by then? And by the stuff, I mean the crazy stuff that happened, or was that before?
We talk about that in the second Eurovision episode. Yeah,
You do.
The first Eurovision episode, we mostly stay away from any controversies, but there were too many controversies by the time we recorded.
I was about to say
that I was like, we cannot avoid this.
Okay, we're going to avoid controversies. So, people saying.
And the next episode that will be coming out in a few days is an X-Men 97 episode with me and Kevin. So we've now finished the series because it just finished. So we talk about that, and I mean, it's not close. It's close to the length of this episode. So
it was a good show.
Good
Shocker.
bang for your buck in that one.
I like.
Yeah, we have things to say about about a season that we both enjoyed. Imagine that. Yeah, I think that's everything then. Thank you, Kevin, for joining me.
Thank you, Al, for having me on.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a good harvest.
There, I did it.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Right. Fantastic. Any questions?
No, none related to this show.
All right, let's see how quickly we can get through this insane amount of news. And let's see what we have to talk about Homestead Arcana. I have definitely played it, I promise.